Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is what the strength of a bull market looks like when it is in motion. It is like poetry or music. I'm sure you're all having a fantastic day watching the markets develop. Now, I want to give a congratulations to everyone for being able to have the foresight to see some of this coming before it happened. It's always one of the hardest things to do, and then to continue with that conviction, do the best you can. So this is going to be kind of another fun live stream, long episode. Right out the back, guys, let me know how the volume's going, where I should put the mic, this kind of thing. For some reason, my headphone monitors don't monitor the sound that's coming through. Anyways, let me know in the chat. But with that in mind, we're just going to dive right in. We're going to dive right into the markets here. So here we go. What is it? This one. Yeah, bam. Okay, back to the daily. Now, wow, I was wrong about that reaccumulation range. That's a lesson. Okay, let's take a look at the lessons. Guys, in case you don't know, I actually make mistakes and fail often. Well, don't worry, we'll make an episode or two where we go over specifically the mistakes I've made. Make sure I'm the one talking about that, about anything it's always a smart idea. Be like Eminem is always my conjecture. So here you go, look, I made a huge mistake. Right? This is what we were talking about yesterday. We were talking about yesterday going to the top of the channel here, touching down, and then going up. But it just ignored me, and it just kept going up. So I want to use today as kind of a case study for the first little bit to look at Bitcoin on the smaller time frames and kind of look at what happened with this reaccumulation range, because it's very short. We hadn't seen it like that in a while, and that's a good thing. We had talked about this this particular market growth, though, where you're, okay, well, accumulation, markup, reaccumulation, and then up towards a higher distribution. So even though I was a little bit behind on this, because I thought we were gonna peak out here at around 18 or 19,000 with a bigger retest. Or I thought that was a potential, at least. I didn't necessarily think it was going to happen, but I definitely thought it was a potential. And then here, the potential I was looking at was this like rising gradient bottom accumulation channel. It's like, oh, this is so strong. This is going to be great. We'll touch up here. We'll back up, and then bang. But no, we just went straight through. So were there any indicators of why we went straight through? Now, yesterday, I made a comment, and I hope some of you kind of understand how this works, but let's make a sentiment analysis here. So number one, I said we were having a massive price rise up on less volume. That is actually very bullish in a bull market. Now, for those of you that don't yet know that, you have to look at different signatures during different times of market cycles differently. They're not always all the same. As you get into a bull market, what you're actually looking for is diminished supply, right? So less volume that would come in that would move the price up. So you have price rising with less supply. That's very bullish in a bull market, because it means there's less supply on the market to come in to go for sale. So it'll drive the price up faster. That's how a bull cycle works. In smaller time frames, you can get mixed signals because you can have high amounts of volume come in and produce something what's known as like an upthrust effectively, and it would equate to distribution. This lower volume was a key indicator that we were bullish yesterday. Whereas if it was a higher supply and less price rising here yesterday, that would have been bearish, right? So in these, as we get into the bull market, some things change a little bit, and you want to be aware of that because it makes a big difference. Now, I definitely did not think we were going to go that high that quick on what I thought was going to be, again, a rising gradient bottom, hit 22,000, come back down, and then explode. So this is really unique to me. But what we see that's a very strong indicator is look at this price spread. So what we're going to do is look at the volume from when we left the trading range to the top of the trading range. And then look at the volume that produced that. Whereas here, you have the same amount of supply coming in, but look at the depth of the price movement. Oh, this is such a bullish indicator when you see the price moving up on diminished supply in the beginning of a bull market. We're like, woo-wee, we're getting more action for less result. So more reward, less like work, basically, right? Look here, look at these market cycles that it made up each of the time for almost all identical amounts of supply. Here we have less supply coming in, and look at that price spread. In comparison, you've got an average of around 17% for Bitcoin on the first volume spread ups, and then here you're on almost 22%. This is a big leading indicator. Now, one of the fun parts here is, again, we're looking for a much larger market cycle. We could be headed upwards as high as a few $100,000. Maybe it's time to start thinking a lot more bullish. Now we're going to get to find out. Now, luckily, again, hopefully you guys were all in some type of a position for for the market here. I would hope. We've been in a bull market since March 17th. We went over this a few times before. Now I'll just kind of gently touch back to that conjecture. So for those of you that are new to the channel, or just as a refresher for all of us, one of the reasons why we became so bullish in October and June, July, August, this area here, was this particular moment, which is we're going to now call the pandemic or of COVID-19 or something like this, right? That moment represented a peak moment of fear in the human consciousness and psyche. And because of that, all the supply hit the floor for the last time. But after that, that was the last time. So every time afterwards, these are called tests or supply checks, LPS, last point of support or last point of supply. So as we formed this initial trading range, it was testing the supply, range bound. And as soon as it knew it could go up higher, it did. Pushed up, sold down, checked the supply one more time. And this was kind of the last trading range you could have taken advantage of before this big run up. Now, comparatively speaking, if we measure from the middle of the initial trading range to where we are now, we're at 118% from that initial trading range, which is huge. If we go back and we look at Ethereum now, we make a very similar type of conjecture, except we take from a different angle. Here again, now that we've seen a confirmation, this is a less bullish one. In Bitcoin, we had a rising gradient bottom. Bitcoin was obviously more bullish looking back. And this is one of the things about learning. Like, we're always learning. There's so many things to know, so don't expect to learn or know it all, especially all at once. But here you can see a much more horizontal accumulation range. And then from the middle of this trading range for Ethereum to the top of the primary SOS, you had about 100% for Ethereum. So when Ethereum first broke out of its box and its trading range, it did approximately 100% from the middle of its TR of the reaccumulation channel right here, or around the same time. And then to the top of this peak here. Again, more volatility, more supply coming in. It's less clear, the strong hands in Ethereum, but we're getting there. And that's expressed by today. Again, a nice big price move up with less volume coming in. Beautiful part of the start to the bull market. So the conjecture here is that when Ethereum first made its noticeable change of character, it was up about from the bottom of the trading range there, it's around 112%. So Bitcoin right now is in somewhere similar. We're from the middle of that trading range to the breakout at the top of where we are. We're about 120%. Now, I think we could go higher still. Yesterday, our conjecture about a breakout of this trading range was upwards of $24,000 to $26,000. And that would be great. I still suspect we're going to get a backup phase. Maybe it's just a lot higher than we first anticipated. And that's wonderful. Remember, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Even if we thought we might get a touchdown at 13,000, which would basically be a retest of the 21-week moving average on the weekly chart. We've gone over this a few times as well, that a healthy bull market usually likes to test the 21 moving average. And as you can see, we've already tested it. Once here in the primary trading range, another time again in the secondary reaccumulation trading range. Originally, we thought we'd come back down to 13,000, which made more sense. But now it seems like if we continue to go higher, this moving average is likely going to be somewhere maybe around $16,000 to $18,000 by the time Bitcoin comes in to recheck another trading range, and its backup phase. Now, the other dilemma here is that could have been it. That may have been the backup phase, especially with how much momentum came out of here. You have globally some of the world's biggest investors getting into the sector, and there's only 21 million of these things. So who knows? Maybe that was the backup phase. I mean, who knows, right? That's one of the fun things about learning is we don't know. Like, we go into an experiment with a bunch of different variables and we try to, maintain and manage the control of those and understand them as best as possible. And then something Bitcoin does like this, right? This very short reaccumulation range. It was looking like it was going to be a reaccumulation range. Looks like it's going to be a really strong reaccumulation range. And then instead of having like the secondary test, it just exploded. Didn't even wait to see if there's more supply. It just ran right through. So it means there's a lot of demand. And that's fantastic. So I'm not sure what type of retracements we're going to see here, this might have been one of the final trading ranges. But generally, I think when we take a calmer approach and we look at it, okay, accumulation, markup, reaccumulation, up, and then a type of distribution, and then you finally see that backup trading range that we've been waiting for, and then we get a crazy bull market out of Bitcoin. Even still, we've already had a crazy bull market, but again, if you compare Bitcoin and Ethereum, you see something very similar from the middle of the trading range to the top of the SOS. Currently, Bitcoin is at 121%, and for Ethereum, we, from the middle of our trading range before we broke out of the box to where we are now is approximately 190%. But to the primary SOS, it was around 105, 106%. This one here, before the backup phase. Again, that's what we're looking for, is this backup phase. After that, again, and this is the question, was what we just saw in Bitcoin this backup phase? Because that could mean we are already out of the gate and on a much bigger market cycle markup. So it's going to be fun to watch. I think it's important to remember that these, like, patience is so important. Again, I had it's the bull market starting. Everyone's asking about Bitcoin again. Everyone's like, oh my God, should I buy now? Is it too high? Should I wait till it's lower? One of the most exciting things I learned about investing is that it's designed to be a formality of consistency. So you do it over time, and through time, as you repeat that process, that's what becomes successful for you. That you actually should recognize failures coming frequently, and that how you cope with that is consistency, right? There's a lot of people who are naturally talented, but if they don't go practice and study every day, they're not going to excel at the rate at which someone who has no natural talent for this particular subject can garner with just that extra hour or two a day over the course of 10 years. And that's how I feel investing is. It's much more like compound adding to the ideas that you're interested in than it should be lump sum investing. Like, I don't try to learn how to play the drum kit in one day. I give myself a decade, 2 decades, with an hour to, or 15 minutes to an hour every day over the course of a decade, and then you've made real progress. And I think investing from a financial aspect is very similar. And this type of, I wish someone would have given me that type of financial information when I was even younger. But here we have it now. Perfect. So what do? Don't, oh my God, is it going to go higher? Is it going to go lower? Just, if you're new to this sector, just ignore it and just buy small amounts. Buy small. Maybe you're really into mushroom clothing, and some guy, your friend's starting a new mushroom clothing company line, and you're like, I want to invest in that. Great. Do that in small amounts and do that for the rest of your life. And over time, you will ultimately be very successful, because business is one of the strongest drivers for good on this planet for people that make maybe mushroom clothing and hats, I don't know, or exponential technology, which is what we happen to be charting today. So in the comparison analysis, we see that there's a similarity between the out-of-the-box breakout, but Bitcoin's patterning here has been very strong. Again, if we look at the original breakout of this box, we had this rising gradient bottom, very nice to see, and even this reaccumulation pattern, no stopping. Ethereum had a big drawdown and a weaker reaccumulation pattern before it exploded up. If this is one of the final reaccumulations, we could see a much bigger move up, right? Maybe even higher. We could even go much, much higher. We're going to have to wait and see. We're in a pretty interesting moment of kind of new price discovery. So yeah, it's a patience and timing is important for these markets, but something still tells me we're going to get a drawdown. You hate to think that a routine is the way that's most expressive, especially after I see the trading range that I thought we were going to form get totally invalidated, where these other ones worked out beautifully. This initial trading range here, this worked out beautifully. As soon as it jumped across the creek right here, bang. This one too, as soon as it jumped across the outside of the trading range, bang, right? So we can definitely see the power of these horizontal trading ranges, but this one was so short-lived. It looks more like I guess this is one of the aspects to reaccumulation is it doesn't take anywhere near as long as accumulation. So we might get, we might have a little bit of a survivor bias from the bear market thinking, oh, this reaccumulation should take longer. It didn't. It exploded right away, very, very powerfully too. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see where Bitcoin goes for now. Other than that, I do think, if you're new to this sector, just try to focus on hitting that goal of successfully investing like once a week in things you're interested in, Bitcoin or mushroom clothing. I have yoga pants. I don't know. Whatever is interesting to you, I think is probably the best bet. If Bitcoin happens to be the thing that interests you, well, hats off to you, my friend. I find it very interesting as well. This whole sector. Coffee time. Okay. What's next here? Let's go take a look at Ethereum, and then we'll go back out to the daily here on Bitcoin just to kind of close out this chart. So right now I'm not trying to pick tops. Again, I'm just looking for a bigger change of character. Again, usually when you have something like this, it's hit by something with a bigger drawdown, just to really test supply and shaking either retail hands that had gotten in these areas. So I'll be patient for that, but if not, I guess these were the last points of entry for, and again, will continue to be, even if we come back down to 18,000. I think that's one of the interesting parts here. Continues to be really, really powerful. So as we look at Ethereum here, this is one of the trades I jumped in. It was a nice time. It was, rewarded me well. A little bit slower than Bitcoin today, 5% behind. So you've got Bitcoin up at 20% from its mark-out spot here. And you have Ethereum just at around 23% as well. So point to point, day over day, they're pretty much the same, which is, again, fascinating to see. So if you look from the bottom of the breakout to where we are in Ethereum, we're at around 24%. And then if we go back and we do the same thing with Bitcoin, actually, is Bitcoin a little higher now? Let's find out. From there to there. Oh, 32%. Yeah. So Bitcoin put an extra 10% over top of Ethereum today. That's big. That's noticeable. It's one of the first times our market alpha has outpaced Ethereum in terms of the day-to-day gains in this cycle so far. In the other cycles, they were moving almost lockstep, and sometimes Ethereum was even ahead of Bitcoin. This is great. This is great news. This is great news for the whole ecosystem. The collateral and all means we've solved. We're coming to a much stronger conclusion about the benefit of these technologies. So with Ethereum, I still think this is an extremely undervalued play. Collateral is amazing. The fact that we can have decentralized money, that's amazing. But what smart contracts add and remove the risk from our monetary layer and our transaction layer, and we can do these other things like earn interest, yields, farming, launchpads, tokens, content creators, all this stuff. You can pretty much put everything on a blockchain, and there's reason for it. As long as it's cheap enough, you can find reasons for more security and more transparency. I mean, that's pretty clear. But with that in mind, I guess the more exciting part here is that one of the reasons why Bitcoin was so exciting, and not that it's lost that veneer, but when we were recognizing it in 2017 and 2011, and nobody else was, you're like, it's kind of like finding the cool weird thing, it's like before psychedelic mushrooms or ayahuasca were cool. You're like, yeah, I'm going to try this weird thing. And you go out and you risk a lot to put yourself on the line to like experiment with new ideas and try new things. And now it's kind of, we're in a place of like mainstream adoption. Ethereum still has a lot of interesting room to grow and experiment. We don't yet know what it's capable of because we've solved, the Bitcoin layer has helped solve one really big problem around, monetary security, ledger security. The social contracts and the smart contract platform allows us to do so much more with that same technology. So it's much more like an ecosystem. You're like, great, I've got this one part of this one thing that I need. Well, what about all the other moving parts that really make that vehicle function the way it does at a scale outside of just a monetary transaction from point A to point B? And it removes the risk of messing with Bitcoin at all. We just leave it the way it is. Don't mess with it. It's working. We'll let it do that for now, and we'll continue to grow and build on other things. I think it's such a smart play. So I'm excited about Ethereum. It offers me kind of that sweet feeling of altruism that Bitcoin brought to the space originally, like the underbanked, the underserved, everyone who's been impoverished by governmental, monetary, fiscal decisions that have nothing to do with them, and they have no recourse on. All of a sudden your bills are banned, or here you go, you can't use your card anymore. This whole space solves that. And that's such a big deal. There's a lot of people around the world that can't get bank accounts. And that's what I really liked about this sector when I first got here. And Ethereum helps solve that problem with Bitcoin. They can work together to do that. And maybe it's not Ethereum. It could be any number of other layer 1 protocols, even Chainlink, right? Oracle, not that Chainlink would solve this, but the Oracle, these things are stronger and worth more together. It's the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the individual parts here. That's for sure. So keep that in mind as we take a look at this stuff. So sentimentally, we had a nice breakout above the range here too. Again, a very short trading range for Ethereum, not too dissimilar to Bitcoin. The move out of the trading range has not been as powerful, but Ethereum is also not as mainstream as Bitcoin, right? And you're going to find a lot of retail investors though likely come to this sector. They don't realize that they can buy less than a whole Bitcoin. You know what I mean? They can buy parts of a Bitcoin. And so they're going to look for cheaper assets like Ethereum, probably Litecoin or Link, this kind of thing. They're like, oh, Bitcoin's too expensive for me. It's 24 grand. I can't buy one. So I'm going to look at other things that are more affordable. Retail will often look at these other ideas as well. Not to say that they're wrong, but they actually often end up making good guesses. There's definitely evidence of that in a number of tokens that you could have bought over the last 5 years that you'd be surprised what $1,000 would have done. Anyways, the point of this is very short trading range, similar to Bitcoin. Rising gradient bottom, so a bullish reaccumulation pattern. It would nice to see a recheck here, maybe 637, boom, 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 a backup phase to 643, and then another explosion upwards of let's see, 70, maybe even we could go as high as the regression line on this. So originally we were looking, again, with the momentum that came out of Bitcoin, I'm not going to suspect for sure that Ethereum comes back to test the bottom of this megaphone at all. Maybe it just goes right through 710, closes above, and then continues along its way. No, I do not. But we're going to watch because what I want to do is I want to know when it's happening. That seems to be the most valuable time to be in the market, is when those things are changing and taking advantage as much of that volatility in the direction it's going as possible. So we're looking for a new trading range, likely, hopefully to form and break above the box. If not, come back down and test lower areas to get to this megaphone area for Ethereum. Chainlink, I should have stayed in my 75x long yesterday just because it was a funny experiment and it would have actually done quite well here. But as you can see, once we broke out of this kind of descending, nice descending wedge at the back. Well, see, this is the thing here, guys. This is why you almost always want to ignore smaller patternings in larger market cycles, right? Look how easy it is to be like, oh, look, there's a head and shoulders forming on Link. I'm going to be bearish. Right? You're like, okay, pretend this, we don't know what's coming in the future. This looks like this head, shoulders, right? Looks like a head and shoulders. Like, oh my God, it's going to break down right here. But look, we're in a bull market. It doesn't make any difference. A head and shoulders on the 4 hour is totally irrelevant. And that's one of the most important parts about understanding market cycles too. The better you know where you are in accumulation or distribution, the easier it is to sidestep making these potentially smaller mistakes. I want to take a look at BAND and BNT, as we had gone over those in some of our previous videos, and I thought there was some good conjecture there. So BAND also seems to be forming now. Okay, so here on this larger market cycle time, BAND to me looks like it's making a top end trading range. Here is your spring, and this would be a head and shoulders within a market cycle. So I've got a close eye on BAND. I'm actually going to set some alerts as well, because I like these trades. Like, there can be so much bullish momentum. We saw what BAND did before this started, so keep that in mind. But also remember that these could turn into distribution. We could see lower, but so far, nice volume check, nice price check here on the spring, and we see an inverse head and shoulders taking shape on and we could even push it back to the daily. It's going to look the same. So watching BAND here, I've got some alerts set for the breakout of this neckline, and then I wanted to also look at BNT, because BNT made that kind of cup and handle breakout. So we had done a video the other day just before BNT broke out. This is another type of accumulation pattern. Again, what's fun for these guys is, this is another head and shoulders for Bancor. This one was much more noticeable. But a break out of the box, you likely come out, get the backup phase, stay above that trading range, and maybe go a crap ton higher as well. So keep that in mind. You know, the DeFi sector is extremely powerful. You guys have asked me about alternative plays. DeFi perpetuals is an easier way to manage that for me. But look, there's a bunch in here. Misego in the basket, Avalanche, Aave, Wi-Fi, XTZ, Sushi, Uniswap, Kava, Band, Balancer, and Algo, all in the DeFi pocket. I'm surprised Algo has done so poorly. I've heard so many great things about their tech, but I guess that's what just goes to show sometimes how important tech is in comparison with the community. And then, yeah, Balancer dragged down quite a bit there too. So you're looking for stronger iterations, like both Wi-Fi and Aave have had strong potential reaccumulation patterns take place. I think you're starting to see a whole new trading range for Wi-Fi as well. And Aave's forming this rising gradient bottom here, so we're definitely going to want to keep our eye on that. If we see a breakout of Aave above this horizontal type trading range, wow, that'd be so powerful. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys my face back here for a second. We're going to take a look at a few of your guys' thoughts and questions, if you have them. I'm going to open up the live chat now and see how everyone is doing. Where's live chat? Go live chat. Pop out chat. Okay. Life is great. Congratulations. Chainlink was even better when we could still grab for $1. Yeah, that was a long time ago. The original accumulation range for Chainlink was a long time ago. I agree with that. But you get other points in a market cycle to take advantage of the volatility, and that's really the only thing that's important to us, I would suspect. Not much of a head and shoulders. No, sorry, that's an inverse head and shoulders. Yeah, when they're upside down like that throughout a trading range, that's a bullish version of distribution of accumulation. So I can actually show you guys that. We've got some of our initial PDFs open here. So what I'm going to show you right now is one of our private group educational documents. I'll scroll all the way to the bottom through all this fun market cycle stuff. And then what we want to do is take a look at, yeah, see, this is an inverse head and shoulders throughout the bottom of a trading range. And this is accumulation. So you can find the same thing in distribution. I got to put all the other content on my laptop here. But here we'll look for a head and shoulders. Yeah, so this is a regular head and shoulders, not an inverse head and shoulders. Same through the trading range, just the opposite. I mean, seems kind of simple, right? So there's an accumulation, and then that's a distribution. This one's like a middle finger. This one looks like a ski jump. I don't know, something like that. Okay, yes. Next thoughts. Can you look at XVG? No, I'm going to end off with the episode here. I've got some things I want to go do. A friend's calling me right now. I should probably answer. I'm just gonna say, hey, Bobak, I'm gonna call you back. Just give me a few minutes. Cannot wait to see the link hype. Still buying under $20. Just wondering your opinions, obviously, on this idea. Feel the shoulders line up, inverse or not? The shoulders don't line up. Yeah, they do pretty clearly, Mark. I suggest go charting them. Link 75x trade. Did you close it or still open? Yeah, it closed out in profit. I moved the stop loss up. When I jump on the live stream, and I believe my Ethereum trade just closed out. It's in profit as well at 665 there. Should have been 666. That's okay. Next thing. If you're selling to cash, is it too early? Alt season hasn't started yet. I don't try to sell to cash. That's a different idea. I usually try to play a bit of a different line function. Look at the market drop right now. Let's go take a look at that. Oh, hold on a sec here. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice drop. Okay, first change of character. Well, I'm kind of excited about that. That's a nice thing. So let's take a look at this here. We see a big first change of character. Bitcoin dropped. They're only 2%. Nice, very strong. Ethereum dropped around 3% there. Its first kind of turn down. This could be like a start of a little backup phase here. So let's actually take a look on Yeah, we're on the 1 minute for Ethereum. It's a short time frame, but it'll give us some data. Yeah, we'll go to the 5 minute. You can see a type of trading range form. Yeah, it looks like we could see ultimately a little bit of distribution here. A big amount of supply came in and dropped us down quite a bit. Look how much, look at the price spread again here versus the amount of supply that came in. Although interestingly enough, we do see similar price spread in and then out. So this looks like probably the start of a settled distribution phase. Maybe a quick drop down. Let's see if we get a little bit of a drop down to like 647 along the top of that box. Yeah, the top of the trading range here, potentially 636 even. And then let's see, is there anything similar in Bitcoin that we see? No, Bitcoin's just way up in blue sky. It doesn't even care. I love that. Not even close to the trading range. But again, maybe you see one little LPS, right? And then we might see a lot higher here. I'm not going to bet against it. And as a matter of fact, this is the area where I might start opening riskier and riskier plays, like I did with the 100x link play the other day and this morning, just because as long as you're within momentum and you put a stop loss in right away, you generally are always closing in like $50 to $60 in profit, which is enough to cover the trades and this, but the point of that is you don't need to, when you get them right, you can let them ride and you just basically walk away. You never know how high they'll go. Sometimes you get $50 and that's 100x. It doesn't really matter. You can totally lose the trade, but when you get it right, it's a nice little adjunct to the momentum and the volatility. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We're going to leave it at that. I'm going to go out to the waterfalls. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give us those thumbs up if you like these live streams. Hopefully the audio was a lot as poppy today. I think I figured the gain out. Congratulations, everyone. This is a bull market. Be excited. I know I sound pretty mellow, but I'm like, great. Yes. Awesome. This is what we want. This is what we expect. This is how it should be. So go out, enjoy your day, and we'll see you guys again on the next episode. And it was like, here we go. Boom.